Hi flutes, today we're going to talk about the parts of the flute. So I want you to get your flute case in front of you just like this, be sitting on the floor. We are never ever ever going to open up our flute case with the flute on our lap, so it's always going to be on the floor or on a flat surface. Sitting in a chair, our lap is not flat, so we don't want to do that. So first things first, let's review how you know that the case is right side up. Number one, if you have a logo, it will be on top. If you have latches, the latches will flip up. And also, some of you will have a case that you can see the bottom part is bigger than the top part. The top part will always be smaller. If you have a zipper case that has a pouch on top, the pouch will be on top, those things. When you're 100% sure that your case is right side up, go ahead and flip up the latches or unzip the zipper, and then you want to be very careful as you lay the lid back, because if you just let the lid flop, it will flop around and it can jostle the flute inside, which we don't want to do. Now, I'm going to face it towards me. Now, don't get ahead of me. Make sure that you are with me and only looking at the flute right now. If you have plastic parts on the flute, you can take those off as we talk about the parts of the instrument, but I don't want you handling the flute right now. We'll talk more about different things as we keep going and show you how to put the flute together. First thing I want you to look at, you should have a part that looks like this. Okay, it's the one part of your flute that has no keys. This is called the head joint, okay? You'll see right here that there is a kind of screw on one end. That's gonna be called the crown. This is a screw that moves, and it's actually very, very important, so you don't ever wanna mess with it. We'll talk later about how to tune your flute head joint and make sure that it's in tune, and that's with this, but you don't wanna mess with it, and you certainly don't wanna play with this screw or it will get completely out of tune. You also have the lip plate that's right here. This whole plate right here is called the lip plate, and then you have the tone hole, which is the hole that you actually blow across. Some people call it the aperture hole. I will call it the tone hole almost every single time. And then this part right here is what's going to go inside the flute. Now, I talked a little bit about the crown right here. Inside the flute, at some point I will show you and take it all out. There is a cork in here that's nice and long. That's called the tuning cork, and that's what we were talking about a second ago. So this is the head joint, okay? If you had to take the plastic off, go ahead and make sure that you have very carefully placed that back in the case exactly how it goes. Other than taking plastic off, if your instrument is brand new, you shouldn't be touching anything on the flute just yet. We'll do that in the next video. Okay, right here is going to be the shortest piece. It's called the foot joint. So we have the head joint and the foot joint, right? Head and foot, pretty easy. So the foot joint is the shortest piece. If you have a flute like mine, you can see two keys right here, and then the paddle keys here. There's another key on the back. Some of you may have a B foot, okay, which means you have an extra key, and you would have an extra little roller right here. But this is the foot joint. Make sure I got all my parts. The next thing that we're going to talk about is if we have a head and a foot, we're gonna have a body. This is the body of the flute. Notice as I'm picking this up, which you're not yet, I'm putting one finger on either side to make sure that I'm holding it very, very well. Okay, this is the body of the instrument. If I am holding it like this, I'm doing okay. The other way that I can hold this, so that if I were actually putting it together, would be to hold right here at the barrel or the label. This is the part of the body that has no keys. You never want to squeeze or press on the keys or hold on the keys, because if you do, they can bend. These long things right here are called rods. You notice there were some rods on the foot joint, and then there's some rods on the body. The big pieces are keys. This is where your fingers go. And then there's other paddle keys that kind of stick out from the flute. You see those in different places as well. These, especially this one right here, bend very easily. But if you squeeze the rods bend very easily. They're very long and very thin, so you want to be really careful with that. So this is the label or the barrel. I'll call it the barrel most of the time. I can hold my flute like this, and it's very steady, and I'm not hurting any keys. We have keys, and we have rods and paddle keys. This is the body. Now, I'm going to make sure my case is completely closed. Those are all the parts of the instrument, and latched. You don't want to forget to latch your case, because then if I pick it up, my flute may roll out and get broken. So that's the parts of the flute.